a tough time competing for resources, so this isn't going to be a good place to be following the storm. For public information in the Keys, the Monroe County Emergency Operations Center has an 800 number that can be called. It's 1-800-955-5504. Again, 1-800-955-5504. That's the best place to go for current information. And if people need to have a way to get out of the Keys and to get to the hurricane shelter on the mainland, the buses will be running today from Key West all the way up to the shelter up at FIU. So if you need transportation, contact the EOC and we'll make sure that you're on the list to get picked up.
Okay, we'll now take any questions you all might have.
As far as it goes with gasoline, there were 7 stations in the Keys that had gas, including 2 in Key West. Now it's down to 1. What's the timeline?
The gasoline issues changes on an hourly basis because, yes, some gas stations might open up and right away people go there and they sell out. So it's back and forth. So I don't know what to tell you other than just, social media. It was working well. People calling each other well. We'll put out, when we know the information, we'll put it out, we'll push it out. But what we found is that as soon as we push it out, people get there and it sells out. So it's a difficult situation, there's no doubt.
Do you know a timeline for the gas stations when they're going to fully shut down and everything?
Well, it all depends. Where. I mean, you're talking upper Keys, middle Keys, or lower Keys. If you're talking just lower Keys, I don't have that information right now. Anybody else have it?
I talked to a couple of the gas station folks here in Key West this morning early, and I know one of them plans to stay open as long as he has power.
When the shelter is going to be ready, what time?
4 o'clock today, FIU is opening up.
Just today or you have to look tomorrow?
Well, it opens up today. It'll be open throughout the duration of the event.
Just today?
At 4 o'clock, and then it'll be open the whole time.
Where's the pickup?
Pickups are various pickups. We have our bus system here. If you call the 800 number, or folks know the bus system, it's a regular bus route. And we're adding additional buses also.
Are there any changes to that plan with the forecast in Miami?
No.
Can you talk about the idea that there are no shelters here or in the Keys?
Right. It's imperative. It's imperative to get people out. We don't shelter here in place. There's no buildings that we can guarantee that we can keep people safe with an 185-mile-an-hour hurricane. There's just no way. So that's why we see it coming. We've seen this thing coming at us for days now. It's not like a tornado where it just pops up. This is a hurricane. We see it coming. It's irresponsible. If you're going to stay here, it's irresponsible to stay here if you're not in a safe situation. And there aren't many places that can handle 185-mile-an-hour winds. So it's much easier just to get in the car or in the bus and leave. It's just easy. You have plenty of time. We have 2 or 3 more days.
Do you have any sense for how many people have evacuated or what percentage?
It's a tough call because luckily the good thing is this week is our slowest week with our tourism. Whoops. We have very low accommodations right now. The occupancy rate's the lowest because it's after Labor Day. The kids have started school, so folks are busy into their normal routine. So that's the good news. I'm going to estimate 25 to 30,000 just because of the numbers that we think we had at that time. Usually about 15,000 folks are here, so it's a tough number to calculate, though. We might maybe get back to you on that.
Are you finding that more people seem to be actually heeding the advice than in other situations? I mean, many times you come here and people are like, oh, I've been through it before.
Well, absolutely. I'll tell you that I've been around here about 10 years. So this is our 3rd, maybe 4th close call, and by far everybody's moving. I could turn it over to some of the old timers over here. Maybe they could tell you, the guys that have grown up here, the conks, that maybe they see it, and I've never seen them react the way they have. You want to take that one?
Can you introduce yourself, please, before you start speaking?
Pardon?
Can you say your name, please?
Billy Wardlow, City Commissioner. Yes, this is, I've been here 63 years, and this is the worst storm that I've seen. The EOC has really done a great job by getting the residents and our tourists to really listen to them. And like our city manager in Roman said, people are leaving, and it's the best thing to do is get on the road and get out sooner than later. But
Fire Chief and the EO emergency manager also.
Yeah, at one time I was the ex-fire chief and the emergency manager up here in Key West. So I went through Georges and Wilma and a couple other ones that we had in those years. And this is the biggest and the baddest that I've seen in my lifetime in Key West. And I'm glad everybody's listening, and keep listening to your emergency management, not only in Key West, but the whole way up to Keys, and everybody's doing a great job. We really appreciate it.
Knowing what we know about the track now, what would you say to people who are still, I mean, I spoke to people yesterday who were still on the fence, so meaning that there would still be a window of time that they say, oh, well, it looks pretty bad now, maybe I'll get in my car. I mean, what would you say to people who are thinking about waiting until it might be too late to get out?
Yeah, the short answer to that is sooner is always better.
Can you say your name?
Jim Scholl, Key West City Manager, but yeah, waiting is never a good option, especially when there's so much uncertainty about the magnitude and the actual track of the storm. Sooner is better. If you've got the means to leave, you need to leave now. If you need assistance getting out of the county, you need to call and make sure you know where the bus stops are going to be to take people to the shelter. There is another option. The Key West International Airport is open till about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and there's a couple more Delta flights that'll be leaving today, headed up to Atlanta. And I know the first flight out this morning, the Delta flight was not full, so there was at least capacity available this morning. I'm assuming there may be in the flights that are still leaving. So if somebody needs to evacuate and they want to fly up to Atlanta, there's still an opportunity.
When's the last flight today?
The last flight will be about 5:15 this afternoon, I believe.
You had also mentioned that it's, for those who think they might want to stay, it's not just about staying through the storm, it's going to be the issues afterwards. Talk about that?
Well, exactly. You know, and first and foremost, you know, there's no high ground in the Keys, so staying here is never a good option because of storm surge. And I walked across the street after our call this morning. The National Weather Service office happens to be right out our front door, and talked to the senior meteorologist over there, and they're still working on storm surge numbers. So that's a big deal, and that's why it's so important to consider leaving. But the recovery process will be impacted just because of the potential path of this storm and what it's going to do to South Florida. We're dependent on South Florida for logistics, and we're dependent on our one highway. There's only one road into the Keys, and there's only one road out, and there's a lot of bridges, as Roman said, and if a bridge goes out, that makes logistics very difficult, you know, and the more people that are here that are going to be dependent on resources, the much more difficult it'll be for the people that need to be here to facilitate a recovery.
Roman, in Spanish, please.
Okay, you guys done in English?
Well, I was going to say, and forgive us because we did have a few technical issues at the beginning, but if you could just reiterate what you said at the start of this news conference.
All right. Well, obviously this is a big, powerful storm, something we've never seen in the Atlantic Ocean before. It's very dangerous. It's something that folks should not be here in the Keys for if it comes this way. And the problem is that we're running out of time, and the opportunity to leave is now. And you look at the images of what's going on throughout the affected islands, and the thought of that happening here is very, very scary. And that should scare you enough to leave. On top of that, we have 42 bridges that connect our 120 miles. So that's something that some of those islands don't have, right? They're islands. They don't have all these bridges. We'll probably, if it comes this way, we'll probably lose a bridge or two. Now we're disconnected. So you're stuck here. And it's going to be unpleasant. No electricity, no running water probably. It could be really bad. Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to have your family here? So now is the time to leave. And we can't stress that anymore.
Were there any times or anything that you guys gave at the beginning of this, like times for things opening or?
There was a question about the shelter in FIU that's opening up at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And what about any presence of, you know, obviously the access to police and fire will be affected during the storm.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no count that it's not going to happen, but can you touch on that? Just the presence. I know we've seen police on the streets, you know, in the last couple of days. At what point maybe should we stop expecting to see police on the street, and maybe for people that are staying to stop counting on having police and fire at their disposal?
Exactly. If you stay, and I keep stressing this, if you stay and you're being irresponsible, don't expect us to risk the lives of our first responders because of your irresponsibility. I can't stress that anymore. We're not going to put our folks out in dangerous winds, potential storm surge, and what's going on just because you decided to stay when you had plenty of opportunity to leave. This isn't a tornado that just pops up out of nowhere. We've been watching this thing for days, and we still have a couple more days. So please leave now.